What is going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives Make Money on the Trainer podcast. It's your boy, Brian Mark. And in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you guys the full breakdown of my origin story. Now, this is coming for two reasons. One, my audience size has grown rapidly. So there's a lot of you guys that haven't heard my origin story. And number two, somebody recently asked me, they're like, yo, where can I find more about your origin story? And I was like, why don't I just do a fucking full podcast on that? So I want to start the podcast off with a question. And that is that, have you ever felt misunderstood? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? Have you ever felt like an outcast? Because to be honest, that was how I felt. I was born and raised into a Christian household. Everybody in my family is white. I'm the only dark-skinned member of my family. And up until I was like 8 years old, I didn't really like pay attention to it. Like I didn't really know. And then I remember like going to school and having, kids that were my age at 8 years old asking me questions. They're like, why are you black and your brothers and sisters are white? I honestly didn't even know that there was a difference. So I remember like asking my mom, like, why am I black and why are my brothers and sisters white? And I remember never actually getting a straight answer, never getting like a direct, like, this is why. If anything, it was almost like brushed off to the side. And I remember in that moment and in that time frame, just feeling like something was up. And I was like, I don't know what's up, but like something's up. So 8 years old, I just started to rebel. I was like a rebellious little shit, for lack of a better term. Everything my parents would tell me to do, I would literally do the opposite. I started playing the like, you're not my real dad card because I didn't know who my real dad was and I didn't even know he existed. And every time I'd ask my mom about it, she'd get angry at me. So I remember 8 years old, I was in the kitchen and I was throwing a temper tantrum. And I remember I'm watching my mom pick up her phone and call my grandma at the time and say, if you don't come pick this kid up, I'm going to send him to foster care. So I'm 8 years old looking at this like scenario go down in my fucking living room and being like, holy fuck, you don't really know how to feel. I just remember being like so fucking angry. Like I was just angry and sad. So I went to live with my grandma for like the next few years. And honestly, my whole childhood, I basically felt like I was like an outcast. I basically felt like misunderstood. I felt like I didn't belong. And when I went to school, people treated me like I didn't belong because I thought I didn't belong. My whole family struggled with their weight pretty much for my whole life. Even to this day, there's a lot of them that still struggle. And so I was overweight as a kid as well. So I was like 13, 14. Once I started to get 13, 14, that's when I started to get interested in girls. And every girl that I fucking was interested in wasn't interested in me. They'd always want to be my friend, but they never actually wanted to date me. And so 13, 14 years old, I remember I like asked this girl out in front of one of my, a couple of my best friends. And she like looked at me and like laughed in my fucking face and was like, I will never date you. I remember going home, crying into my pillow at 14 years old, and then just making the decision. I was like, I'm not going to be fat anymore. Like, I was like, fuck that. I was like, I ain't going to be fat. And so every single day I started going for runs. And this was like, at this point, I still hadn't met my dad. Like I still didn't know who my dad was. And I was trying to find myself like as a teenager. So I just started going for runs every single day. And I didn't know how to lose weight. I didn't know anything about fucking fitness. I just knew that like, if I go for runs, I'm going to lose weight. Like I knew that was like a correlation. So in the summer of grade 8 to grade 9, I went from this like overweight, chubby kid to I came back and I'd lost like 30 pounds and everybody thought I was the new kid. Like, oh my God, like, where'd you move from? I was like, I was here last year, you dickheads. I was just fat. So that's when I realized I was like, okay. Like I remember being like 14, 15. I was like, I don't have to be the way that I am right now. That's how I felt. I was like, I don't have to be this way. Like if I don't want to be overweight, I don't have to be overweight. If I don't like the way that I look, I can change how I look. And so I started doing like crazy shit. Like I dyed my hair blonde at one point and I'd wear blue contacts because I'm like, if I can lose weight, what else can I do? So that was like getting into high school. And like, when I think back to like the life that I was living, like, dude, like my whole family, like up until I started breaking through to success, everybody in my family struggled for money. Like we were the family that was like, money doesn't grow on trees. We were the family that was like getting hand-me-downs from the church. We were the family that was going to the food bank. And so I remember like being in that like lifestyle and I just knew, I was like, I don't fucking want this, man. Like, I was like, I don't want this. Like, I don't subscribe to this. And so I'd go to school and they'd teach me shit that I thought was fucking irrelevant. I was like, this is not for me. Like, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want this lifestyle. So in high school, I started playing football, and football was the first skill that I ever developed outside of the gym. And football, like in grade 10, I was the worst player on the team, couldn't catch a ball to save my fucking life. And I was just like slow and like lanky. But then I said to myself, I was like, if I could lose 30 pounds, I could definitely get better at football. So I was the first person to go to practice. I was the last person to leave practice. And in grade 10, I ended up becoming the most improved player. We were the worst team in the league, but I got most improved. In grade 11, they made me the captain of the team. Same behavior, first person there, last person to leave. And then in the off season, I would train my fucking ass off. I was the dude that was in the middle of the football field with parachutes by myself with weights, like doing push-ups, doing sprints. Like that was me. I was that guy. So grade 12 comes back. And in grade 12, I was the captain of the football team. We went to city finals and I got scouted to play football for like a junior team out in Kelowna. And at this time, I honestly thought I was going to be a pro football player. Like that was my goal. Once I started playing, I was like, I'm going pro. I'm going to be a pro football player. Like that was the route that I was going to take. High school, I got injured. And once I got injured, I was like, all right, well, I'm like, I can't play. I thought that an injury, and this is why whenever people tell me about adversity, I always laugh. Because when I was 18 years old, the first time I got hit with adversity, like the first shoulder separation I had, I was like, my life is over. Like, I guess my life's over now. I'm like, I guess I can't play football. Like I had one major adversity and I let that stop me from going after my dream. And I honestly, like, if I look back on my life, that was probably one of my biggest regrets. Not because like I wish I was a pro football player, but when I look back in my life and I think about the things that like the pivotal decisions that actually changed my life, I think one of the pivotal decisions was like making the decision not to play football because I was injured. And if you really think about that, like so many people will go after their dreams until something negative happens or they get hit with adversity and then they'll quit. So that's what I did. Is I basically like gave up on the dream of being a pro football player and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And so at this point, after high school, once I graduated, I'm like 18 years old, no clue what to do. I started just partying. I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to party. So I partied for a couple years and I also had this like belief. I was like, if I can get a bartending job, I'll be able to travel the world and go wherever I want. Like I could do whatever I want. I could there's bartenders in Germany, there's bartenders in France, there's bartenders in Italy. So I'm like, if I can bartend, that's a skill that I can take anywhere. So I knew that I wanted to have a skill that I could go anywhere in the world with. So it's bartending. And bartending was honestly a lot of fucking fun. I bartended pretty much from like 18 years old all the way up until I was 23. In those 5 years of my life, I probably did more partying than you guys will do in your whole lifetime. Because when you're like a restaurant manager, a nightclub bartender, a nightclub manager, like it was a lot. It was a lot until it became too much. So in the bar scene, and this is why this belief right here is why I'm so careful who I surround myself with. Because when you're in the bar scene, like when you're going out to the clubs, when you're drinking, you're surrounding yourself with those people. There's always going to be people that take it too far. And so when I was at the clubs, I was drinking, having a good time. But there's always people that take it too far. The bartenders that I was working with were like doing drugs behind the bar and they were doing Molly and they were doing all this shit. And I thought to myself, I was like, I will never be that guy. Because when I was a kid, my auntie would always tell me, this is how she raised me. It's hilarious. She's like, you can drink and you can smoke weed. But if I catch you smoking cigarettes or doing hard drugs, I'm going to kick your ass the fuck out. She's like, you're a teenager. I know you're going to drink. I know you're probably going to smoke weed. She's like, but if you ever do hard drugs or cigarettes, I'll kick you out. So I had that like mentality my whole like adult life. I was like, I'll just never go too far. And then I did. And it was one night when I was out in Kelowna and I was at Center of Gravity. Me and my friends we came out here for like a 3-day rave. And one of my friends was, doing cocaine in bottle service. And he like had it on his key. And I was like, yo, give me some of that. And he's like, what? I was like, give me some of that. He's like, you don't do that. I was like, I know, I want to try it. And the first time I tried that drug, dude, I was like instantly hooked. And that drug and that summer, it went from me doing like I would do it like once a week. And then it turned into twice a week. And then that twice a week turned into 3 times a week. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then it was like, I was literally high every day. And the only time I wasn't high is when I was sleeping. And in that period of time where like there was like a 6-month time period from when I was 22 years old, where it was like literally everything in my fucking life started to deteriorate. Like we're talking like I was living at a house with a few roommates. I got kicked out because I wasn't paying rent. I had this car. It was my first ever car that I'd gotten to myself. It was a Chrysler 200. Don't judge me. But it got repossessed. I was inside one of my friends' houses getting drunk and I came back out and they were just wheeling my car away because I hadn't paid the payments. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I moved into my grandma's house and I was sleeping on her couch in her trailer. I was slowly but surely losing my reputation in Calgary. Like I had built up a really good reputation over 5 years. Like I was energetic, I was passionate, I always brought people to the bar so I could get hired anywhere I wanted. And slowly that was shifting to like, this kid's always fucking high and he's always fucked up and like we shouldn't hire this guy. So it was like, I go to this bar, get fired after week, go to this bar, get fired after week, go to this bar, get fired after week. And my rock bottom moment was when I was bartending at a place that used to be called Black Betty in Calgary. And the end of the night comes and manager like calls me into the office. He's like, do you want to like leave yourself or do you want me to escort you out? And I was like, what? He's like, I caught you filling up my bottles behind the bar. I saw you doing drugs behind the bar. And I also know you have drugs on you. He's like, you can either walk out yourself or I can have security escort you out. And I was like, I'll walk out myself. So I walked out of that bar, and one of my friends who I was partying with at the time, we would always get fucked up together. I called her. It was actually my girlfriend at the time. I was like, hey, I just got fired from Black Betty, blah, 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 blah. And keep in mind, she was also an addict. And she was on the phone with me and she was like, you got fired again? I was like, yeah. She's like, Brian, you're fucked up. She's like, you need to do something about this. Like, this is a fucking problem. And I remember in that moment, I was like, you're an addict and you're telling me that I'm fucked up. I'm like, I must be super fucked up if you're an addict and you're telling me that I'm fucked up. So that's kind of when it like hit me. I was like, holy fuck, like I'm actually an addict. And at this point, like when you're an addict, dude, like anyone that tries to help you, you fucking like cut them down. So I remember a lot of my friends at the time were telling me like, bro, like this, like we think you're going too far. And anybody that would tell me that I was taking it too far, I just cut them out. I'm like, fuck you. Like, you don't understand, because I was doing anything to feed the addiction. Like I just needed to feed the fucking beast. Like I just wanted to like stay in that state. I just wanted to stay high. So that was the night that I realized I was like, holy fuck, I'm an addict. So I remember I was actually driving my grandma's car because mine got repossessed. Drove my grandma's car back to her house. And when I got back to her house, she was there. She was sitting up there waiting for me. She always waited for me to get home. And it's 3:00 in the morning. She was just sitting on her little fucking chair waiting for me to walk through the front door to make sure I was okay. And I remember walking into that house and looking her in the eyes, and like I just burst into tears. I just couldn't take it. And I just collapsed on the couch. And my grandma's, I love her to death. She's naive as fuck though. She had no idea I was an addict. She's just like, my sweet little boy. So she didn't ask me what was wrong. She just got up, went into her room, grabbed a Bible, came out, held my hand, cried with me, and read me the Bible. And like that moment for me changed everything. When I think back on my life and like the moments that really changed everything, like that was the moment that literally completely like shifted the trajectory of my life. And I was like, I'm just not going to be this guy anymore. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I went to bed. I woke up the next day and I was like, okay, I need to get over this addiction. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I need to do, but I need to get over this addiction. So I was trying to think of what I needed to do for work because I had no money. I had just gotten fired from all my jobs. I was in debt to drug dealers. I was like, I need to do something. So I was thinking about what skills I had. And I literally had no life skills. Like, I was just a fucking drug addict. The only skill I had was bartending. So I used to work at the summer camp when I was like 17, 18. Like I would go there every summer to be a camp counselor. So at this point, I'm 23 years old. And I was like, maybe I can go back to this summer camp to be like a counselor, or not even a counselor. I was emotionally unstable. I was like, maybe a laborer. So I called them and I was like, hey, do you guys have any labor positions available? They're like, no, we don't, but we have a cleaner position available. And I was like, I ain't a fucking cleaner. I'm like, thank you though. I'm good. And I hung up, went to sleep, woke up 24 hours later, realized I had no other options. So I called them back and I was like, okay, I'll take the cleaning job. So it was like when I was 22, 23 years old, I went out to Bragg Creek to this summer camp. It was called Our Lady Queen of Peace Ranch. And I worked as a cleaner. And all I would do all day, you guys, is it was like this isolated camp in the middle of the wilderness. So there's no cell phone reception. I was able to cut myself off from the outside world and just focus on like getting better. So every day I would clean toilets, take out garbage, mop the floor. And after I was done that, I would go for a run. And dude, the first time I ever went for a run when I was getting clean from my addiction was like hell. There was like this lake in the middle of the summer camp that was 1.4 kilometers around. And I told myself I was going to run one lap of the lake. I ran like 150 meters and then I like almost collapsed from fucking not being able to breathe. I felt like my heart was going to stop and all I could smell was the drug in my nose. And so I told myself, I was like, I'm going to walk the rest of the fucking lake. So the next day I went out, cleaned fucking toilets, scrubbed fucking all that shit. And then the next day I went up to the lake and I was like, I'm just going to make it a little bit farther. So I pushed myself to go 250 meters and then I walked the rest. And the third day I was like, I'm fucking doing the whole lap. So I like did the entire lake, 1.4 kilometers without stopping. And then I was like, okay, like I can do this. So then it took me like 10 minutes to do 1.4 kilometers. So I was like, I'm going to get one lap of the lake in under 5 minutes. So every single day I was always trying to like better myself. I was always trying to push myself to be like the best version of myself. Once I got to a 5-minute lap, by the second week, I was like, my goal is to get to 2 5-minute laps. Because like keeping the pace for 2 5-minute laps is fucking hard. So I would push myself and push myself and push myself. So I started to transform and work on my mindset because I just had something that I could measure my success against. I was like, I know that I'm achieving success if I'm getting better at this like thing right here where I'm like focusing on running. And the more that I run, the better that I get. After I was done my run at my summer camp, every day I had this, like, I brought my computer, I brought my laptop. There was no internet connection, but I had a Microsoft Word document. And on this Microsoft Word document, what I would do is I would write down all of my goals for my life as if they were already accomplished. I was writing down this vision. And in this vision, there was things at the time that would have made people think I was fucking crazy, dude. Like, while I was an addict, I'm writing down, I will be a multimillionaire. Like, I will fucking travel the world. Like, I will have a massive social media following. Like, I will be a leader of men. Like, I will be a strong father. I'll be a strong role model. I'll be like a community leader. Like, I'm writing shit like this in my vision while I'm addicted to drugs still. And to the outside world, like, that would have seemed fucking insane. Like, that would have seemed crazy. But I just knew, dude, I was like, I know that this is not going to be my story. Like, I know that, like, I'm not going to be known as an addict. Like, I know that, like, this is not where it fucking stops for me. I know that this is only the beginning. And I know that this adversity that I'm going through is literally just going to be the fucking catalyst for my transformation. And so I did it every single day. I was working on this vision and I spent 30 minutes on it every day, the entire summer, every time after I ran. And the reason I was doing it is because my life was shit. Honestly, like, my life was dog shit. Every single dollar that I made was going to pay off drug debts that I had. I was completely cut off from the outside world. So I was like isolated and alone. There was no tangible success in my life. And so the only thing that I had was my ability to work on my fitness and my ability to work on this vision. And working on the vision gave me hope. So I kept doing it. It gave me hope that better times were coming. At the end of that summer, it was like 4 months. I had to rejoin society, which I was very nervous about because I'm like, I just got sober by moving to a fucking summer camp, and now I had to rejoin regular life. And so I was thinking about like what I wanted to do because, again, I still have no life skills other than bartending. So I was like, I can't go back to the bar because I didn't want to put myself in environments where I was like likely to get triggered. So I started shopping around and I found this place that was hiring restaurant managers. So I applied. I had never been a restaurant manager, but I applied. And I remember sitting down in the interview with the guy and he asked me, he's like, there's rumors about you circulating that like you're a drug addict. Is that true? And I was like, honestly, no. I was like, I had like a really rough go with it, but I'm not that person anymore. So they gave me a shot. And so I got the job as a restaurant manager. I was making $50K salary a year and I was honestly fucking stoked with it. As soon as I got that job as a restaurant manager, I started pursuing one of the goals that was on my vision board. And that goal was to win my fitness competition. There was a fitness competition that was 6 months after. So I started training for that. It was called WBFF Montreal. I put fucking everything I had into competing. It was like, I'd go to work, I'd fucking work for 8 hours, I'd get off, and I would train for my fitness competition. And I knew that I wanted to build an online business. So I documented everything. I was documenting my food. I was documenting my mindset. I was documenting sobriety. I was documenting going to the gym every day. Like, I was documenting literally fucking everything. I knew that I wanted to turn this into a business. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen, but I knew that social media was a massive part of that. So I trained for the fitness competition. I documented everything. 6 months after I got back from Calgary, I stepped on stage at WBFF Montreal, and I remember placing second out of 30 athletes. And once I placed second out of 30 athletes, I was like, yo, I could fucking win this shit. And so the only thing that stopped me from winning was my posing. So I went and I found the best personal trainer that I possibly could that was in Calgary. It was like 10 grand for a 16-week program. It was fucking nuts. But I went to see him every single day at the gym because I wanted to win my show. And I like literally almost every dollar in my paycheck was going towards that personal trainer. But like, I just knew, I just had this vision. I was like, I'm going to fucking win the show. And then I'm going to go from there. So 6 months after my show in Montreal, same thing, documented everything, step on stage in fucking WBFF Edmonton. And I end up winning the whole thing. And I like won my pro card. Like, that was huge for me, winning my pro card 1 year after I'd recovered from my addiction, because it made me realize like I can literally fucking do anything. Like, I can do fucking anything. Like, if I could go from being a drug addict 12 months ago to being a pro athlete 12 months later, I can fucking do anything. Soon after that, somebody came up to me in the bar and they were like, yo, how much would you charge me to do a training plan and a meal plan? And I was like, I don't really do that. Like, I'm trying to get into it. He's like, well, name a fucking price. And I was like, $200 for 12 weeks. And he's like, done. So the next day he comes into Jameson's, the Irish pub I was working at, with $200 in cash, and he hands it to me. He's like, here you go. Do my meal plan. And I was like, yo, I was like, what the fuck? It's like, I can make money from fucking selling nutrition programs. I was like, are you fucking crazy? What the fuck? And then I was hooked on that. I was like, holy fuck, this is cool. Then I was like, I'm gonna fucking make this online coaching thing work. I still had no idea what the fuck to do or how to do it, but I was like, I'm just gonna make it work. So I started posting on social media that I was now accepting clients, and I was still training. Won my pro card, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So I was still training super hard, documenting everything. And I actually had plans to move to Australia with my ex at the time. I was going to take my business to the other side of the world, to Australia, and we were going to build this. Like, she wanted to move there because her family was there, and I was going to come with her. A couple months after my fitness competition, I realized if I moved to Australia, the likelihood of me building my business wasn't very high, because a lot of the business that I was getting was from my like current network, like people that knew me in Calgary. And so at some point I decided, I was like, I don't want to move to Australia with you. And that was kind of like the beginning of the end for us. I made the decision that I was going to stay in Canada because I knew that like Aesthetic Nation, the business that I was running, was the fucking move. And I knew that I couldn't take my eyes off of it. So she moved to Australia. I stayed in Canada. I was still trying to build my online coaching business on the side. I was still trying to make something work, but I wasn't really like finding my like traction. I was almost like the part-time online coach, you know, the online coach that like says that they want to be an online coach, but they don't actually fully commit to it. That was fucking me. I was that guy. And then one day I get like FaceTime from my ex, and we were doing long distance when she moved to Australia for like 4 months. It was horrible. We fought every fucking day. And one time I get a FaceTime from her, and she's like, I'm breaking up with you. And I was like, what? She's like, I'm breaking up with you. I was like, why? She's like, because you live there and I live here. And I was like, I'll fucking come there. She's like, no, I'm done. And then I was like, it's almost like as soon as you lose something, you're like, oh my God, I need that thing, even though it wasn't right for me. So I booked a one-way to Australia right after that call because I'm a psychopath. I also did it non-refundable because I'm a dumbass. So I booked a one-way trip to Australia to try to like win her heart over, and flew to Australia like a couple weeks later. And when I got to Australia, she wouldn't answer her fucking call. This was also, by the way, the first time I'd ever been on a plane. I'd never been on a plane up to this point. Like I've been in Canada my whole life. So first time I ever go on a plane, I go to Australia, which is the other side of the world, which I think is hilarious. Like first time and you just fucking take the longest trip possible. But I get there and she doesn't pick up her phone. And I'm like in the airport, and then I'm like emailing her, fucking texting her. I'm like nothing, just literally nothing. So I'm sitting in the airport in Melbourne, Australia, and I was like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, I was like, I'm on the other side of the world. I have $3,500 in my bank. I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing? Like, what is happening right now? But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to fucking do something. Like, I'm gonna try to make something work. So I called one of my friends who lived in Australia. I was like, yo, like, this is what happened. Took a one way. I'm in Australia. She's not picking up. Can I come see you? And she's like, yeah, you can come see me. So she lived in the Gold Coast. So I flew from Melbourne to the Gold Coast and just hung out with her for like 2 or 3 days. And we just basically partied our faces off. And so one night we're super, super drunk in Australia in the Gold Coast. We're out at this nightclub. And I like look at her. I was like, I'm just going to stay in Australia, dude. She's like, you should just stay. I was like, yeah, I'll stay. I'll get a work visa. I'll live with you. And she's like, that sounds like a great idea. I'm like, that does sound like a great idea. Let's fucking do it. Anyways, long story short, after that decision that I made that I was going to stay in Australia, I went to the casino. Then I had $3,500 in my bank account. I've never fully told the story before, so I'm laughing while I'm telling it because it's fucking stupid, but whatever. I went to the casino and I took out $3,000, which meant I had $500 left in my bank. And I started putting $1,000 on black or red. So I put $1,000 on black, won, bam. I was like, fuck, sick. Put $1,000 on red, bam, lost, fuck. Put $1,000 on black, bam, lost, fuck. $1,000 on red, bam, lost. And like within 10 minutes, I had lost all $3,000. And I was like, cool, sounds good. So I took a cab back to Christina's. We got separated. And when I got there, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. And I had a flight to Bali scheduled at 8 a.m., but I decided I was going to cancel Bali and just stay at Christina's. So I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and I like knock on her door, and she like looks at me and I look at her and she's like, what are you still doing here? And I was like, what am I still doing here? She's like, get your shit and go to fucking Bali. I was like, holy fuck. So here I am. I'm fucking 6 o'clock in the morning, still fucking half drunk, packing all my shit from Christina's house. And I fucking zip it to the fucking airport in a taxi. I get on the plane. I'm still fucking tanked. I barely make it. Fly to Bali, arrive in Bali. Don't remember like the cab to my fucking Airbnb. But I woke up in Bali in a third world country. And again, I've never been to a third world country before. So I woke up in somebody's random Airbnb in Bali. And I'm like, still like, what the fuck just happened? I just woke up from being blackout. I like look around. It's like sweaty. Like it's humid in Bali. So my whole fucking body's sweating. I'm like, what the fuck? I like look around and it's like, I didn't rent a nice Airbnb. Okay. I had no money. So I had like a $10 a night Airbnb. So I'm like sleeping in the fucking spare bedroom of like a random Balinese person. And I was like, what the fuck's happening? So I was like, I need to go for a walk and catch my bearings. So I went for a walk in this third world country in Bali. And I just like, I walked up the street and like, I remember like, it was fucked. It was like in Canada, all the roads are paved, right? It's like fucking first world. In Bali, it's like, there's potholes everywhere. There's like dogs with missing legs. There's like dogs that have like patches of hair. There's people zipping by on scooters and shit. There's no like traffic lights. The craziest thing was me when I like walked by this like market because like I have no idea where the fuck I am, by the way. I was in Sanur, and Sanur is not like a cool place to ball. It's just like a random ass fucking city. So I walked by this market and I remember like looking into the market and there's a lady that grabs a chicken, puts it on the board, fucking cuts its head off. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, where am I, dude? So I was like, okay, I need to go to a bank. So I go to a bank, go to the machine, look at my balance, and I see $500. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I was like, what did I do last night? I'm like, I'm supposed to be in Bali for 3 weeks. I have $500. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I was like, holy shit. I panicked. I fucking panicked. And I called one of my friends and he told me entrepreneurs solve problems. His name's Kamadare. He's like, entrepreneurs solve problems. He's like, you want to be an entrepreneur? This is a problem. You got to solve it. I'm like, I have $500 and fucking in Bali, third world country. Never been here before. My family doesn't have money, by the way. So it's not like I can fucking ET call home and get some cash transferred to me. My friends, I don't really have a lot of friends because I just recovered from my addiction and just like I was still rebuilding relationships. So in that moment, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I knew I wanted to be an online coach. Like that was something I wanted to pursue, but I just never fully committed to it. I was like, I can make money with online coaching. So I decided I was going to launch I called it the Soft to Shredded 6-week challenge. You guys can look it up on Facebook. I still see the graphics. If I search it, it's funny. Called it Soft to Shredded. It was a 6-week challenge. It was $500. And basically you'd get meal plan, training plan, accountability, and the person that won would win a $500 cash prize or $500 prize package. So I launched on Facebook. I started getting some interest. And anytime somebody would be interested, I would set up a FaceTime audio call with them and I would call them through Facebook Messenger because in Bali, you don't have fucking cell phone reception. So I was like literally waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning in Bali so that I could do FaceTime Messenger audio calls. And 3:30 in the morning in Bali is like 4 or 5 p.m. in Canada. So in order for me to make a 4 to 5 p.m. call, I needed to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was waking up super early, making the calls back to Canada. And I ended up selling 10 people into my Soft to Shredded challenge. 10 people times 500, I made $5,000. And I remember like once I actually collected the $5,000 in cash, which got me through to the end of my trip and fucking saved my life basically. I remember like being like, holy shit, like if I can make $5,000 while I'm on the other side of the world in fucking Bali, like, dude, I'm like, I could do that fucking back at home for sure. And that like was really the shattering of the limiting belief that made me go full time was just realizing I'm like, if I can make money while I'm on the other side of the world, flat fucking broke with nothing, I'm like, I can definitely do it back in Canada. So as soon as I got back to Canada, I went up to my manager at my Irish pub and I literally said this verbatim. And I swear this is actually how it happened. I was like, bro, I quit. And not only do I quit, you should never hire me back here again because I hate working here. I hate talking to customers about things I don't like. So I'm not going to be a good employee. So I promise you, even if I beg for my job back, do not give it to me. I was like, I love you to death, but do not give me my job back, even if I beg for it. And the reason I said it like that is because I wanted this to be like a nail in the coffin for like my old life. I was like, I'm never going back ever. I'm fully committing. I will do whatever it takes. Like that was the mindset. I was like, I will fucking make this happen no matter what. After I made that commitment, that decision, it was another full year. I hit my first $10,000 a month, October 2016. Once I hit $10,000 a month, because I just was going full time and going all in, my friends started asking me like, yo, how are you what are you doing, bro? Like, how are you traveling to Bali, Australia? How are you going to all these places? Because I was traveling all the time. Like every 6 months, I just peace out for a month. So my friends started getting jealous and asking me how I was doing it. So I started teaching them. And I didn't know how to fuck to run a business because I just built it myself, literally off of just work ethic. So I was like, I'm just going to teach you what I do. So I started teaching them what I did. I ended up getting to the place where I had 10 trainers on the team that were all doing between $3,000 and $10,000 a month. We had a fitness business called Aesthetic Nation. We operated out of Calgary, Alberta. We were the most hated and loved fitness coaching company because we were loud as fuck. We were everywhere. We were in people's faces. We had a fuckload of clients. And like, dude, we were hitting $50,000 a month when like $10,000 a month was hard. And like, we didn't really track the numbers, to be honest with you. We were just like, let's just sign more clients. Like, it was never like, let's get to 50K. We were just doing it. It was just happening. Some people love that because they're like, look at these young hustlers. And some people are like, who the fuck do you guys think you are? Whatever. I don't give a shit. That was Aesthetic Nation. 2019, after running my fitness business for 5 years, having trainers come and go, basically like Trainer would come into the team, learn all my shit, start their own thing. And also, like, I got sick of telling people how much broccoli they should be fucking eating. I realized that I was more passionate about mentoring the trainers. And so I started PT Domination. And my intention with PT Domination was just to do it on the side and just to help a few trainers. And like, I just wanted to see if I liked it or not. I started business coaching personal trainers how to start their online business. Fun fact, Kirsten Mark, my wife, is actually one of my first ever clients. Isn't that funny? One of my first 2 clients was Kirsten Mark. And after helping Kirsten Mark, she hit her first $10,000 a month. She was able to quit her job, go full-time online. My other boy was able to quit his job, go full-time online. After helping those 2 people, I knew I had something special. So I literally fucking pivoted everything. I told all my fitness clients at Aesthetic Nation, I was like, I'm no longer fitness coaching. I basically fired everyone from the business. And I was like, you guys can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm no longer responsible. And I just fully committed to PT Domination. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. The last 6 years, I've been business coaching personal trainers how to start and scale successful online coaching businesses and take it to the next level. And that's the fucking vehicle right now. And so that's it. That's the fucking origin story, dude. That's the origin story. Like, I started from fucking absolutely nothing. I started from a guy that like felt like misunderstood. I felt like an outcast. I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't have a strong male role model in my life. Like, I didn't fucking have it. I didn't have any of that shit. I had like no skill. There's like no natural skill that I had. It's like no, like, you know, like financial backing. I didn't go to university. I didn't go to college. I don't have anything fucking special, dude. Anything. I can tell you what I do have though. And I think this is like, you know, you can call a doctor because I got that dog in me, you know? Call a doctor because I got that fucking dog. That's one thing I do have. And like, dude, that having the fucking like dog in you, having the like, I will literally do whatever the fuck is necessary to achieve success. That's all you need, dude. I was talking to Kirsten about this when we were in Vegas. I was like, dude, people don't even fucking need mentors. Like, if you just got that dog in you, dude, like if you just get that fucking like, I will do whatever the fuck is necessary to achieve success. I think mentors are a big part of it, but like, dude, 95% of it is like, you got that dog. Like, I will do whatever the fuck is necessary. And I've always had that. I had that when I was like fat, when I was a kid, when I like lost all the weight. I had that when I was the worst player on the team and I became the best player on the team. I had that when I like was a 19-year-old nightclub manager because I was just fucking on it. Like, everything I've ever done, I've always had this mindset. Like, I will do whatever the fuck it takes to level up the skill set and become the best that I can be. And I think that every single person that's listening to this podcast can be a person that makes that kind of decision. And when I think about the lifestyle that I used to have, where I was living in a trailer park, fucking on my grandma's couch, to now speaking on stages in front of like thousands of people, sharing the stage with people like Brad Lee, who are like the best entrepreneurs in the United States. Like, dude, I literally fucking built this shit, dude. Like, I fucking built this character. I built this person. And like, that's a decision that anyone can make. You know, you're listening to this podcast right now and like, you had some adverse shit happen to you. You had some shit go down. Like, dude, like, that shouldn't stop you. That should be the fucking reason, dude. That should be the fucking reason. And like, my whole life, dude, like I want my whole life to be a fucking testament to what is truly possible. When you fucking never quit, when you never back down, when you never give in, when you go all in and you're just willing to bet on yourself time and time again. And like, although there were many things in my life that I'm not super proud of, I don't regret any of them. Like, you know, I'm not super proud that when I was 18 years old, I fucking stopped pursuing football because of one injury. I'm not super proud that from, you know, 22 to 23 years old, I had a massive drug addiction. I basically burned every relationship that I fucking ever had. Like, I'm not super proud of those things, but those things are also the reason that I am where I am today. And so like, every adversity that you're going through right now and all the shit that you're going through right now that like is like holding you back should be the actual fucking reason that you commit and you go all in. That's it, guys. That's all I got. I hope you guys enjoy the origin story. I hope you all have the best day of your entire fucking lives. Thank you for coming on an adventure and a journey with me, and I'll talk to you guys in the next fucking episode. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at @TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.